Now that we're verified, we're pretty much ready to post-process. Now, inside of the post-process dialog box, we've got some options that we're going to go in and use. First and foremost, let's go ahead and take a look at how post-processing works within Inventor. The first box that you see here is something that you're going to want to change, and this is going to actually tell where post-processors come from in your computer for this session of HSM. I say you want to change that because you're actually going to want to modify your post-processors and use post-processors that you use constantly for your machine tools. So you can create a folder anywhere on your drive to house your post-processors, and therefore you can select them and use them anytime you want. For this demonstration, I'm actually going to change this back to the generic post. Now, if you ever get lost trying to find post processors and you want to get back to square one, you can click on this setup button here, and I can change this back to the use generic posts, and that's going to direct this back to the post processors on the installation. And now I can come in and I can select the correct post processor. We're going to use the Haas generic out of the drop down, but next to the drop down you'll notice this all selection out of the drop down. Well, you can actually use these are filters for each type of post processor that's in there. So I have a milling type, and this is going to pull up all of the milling post processors, which there are quite a few of them. But if I wanted to do turning, then I can switch down to my turning post processors. For this, we're going to use the milling post processors, and I'm going to use the generic Haas post processor. My output, this is a folder that you want to actually select and save, and once you do this, it should always come back to the same spot. So for this, I'm going to use this into our Pluralsight course file so that when I post out, I'm always going to my customer output folder to put my G code in. You can do this to any folder and it will assign that NC output. You can see the extension here, and we can open this in the folder so that you can see where it's going to be output. You have a chance to change your program number and also change your program comment. Now I've defaulted it to do program comment op1 and op2 on this. The next thing is your properties and values dialog box here on the right. Now what this allows you to do is change specific things within the post processor. So it could be that you have a few things in the post they allow you to change, and it could be that you have a machine tool that does not allow you to preload a tool, or does allow you to preload your tool. Now what I mean by this is if you have an older Haas with an umbrella style ATC, you're going to want to turn this option to no, as you cannot preload a tool with an umbrella style ATC. Next, I have the ability to change how I want my spaces within my code to come out, and how I want to see the increment numbers for my end numbers of my program. Now, I want to continue these sequentially by tens. Actually, let's go by 100s. And the sequence start number is going to be 100. So each tool is going to show a sequence of 100. Now that's denoted by this sequence number only on tool change. We're going to show notes. We are definitely going to show sequence numbers. And we're going to use G187. So there are a few things that I have changed from the customization. You can see it's just simply clicking on these fields to be able to turn them on or off. I'm going to uncheck reorder to minimize tool changes because I'm only going to post out one operation, and I want to show just how one operation looks. So I'm going to save this, save over my last posted code, and we're going to open this in the editor. Now HSM gives you one of the best editors on the market for free with HSM, and that is the full version of the Simco edit. So we're actually able to come in and use a lot of functions within the editor, such as backplot, to be able to see the code and see how the code is machining versus just what the toolpath looks like in the CAM. This is a better representation of what your machine's going to be doing. Let's close this out, and I'm going to close just the session. I'm not going to close out of the HSM editor. And I'll minimize that. Now let's look at another option, which is actually posting both programs at one time. When I do this, this is going to post out, and it's going to give me a little post-processing information. It's just telling me that there are two different world coordinate systems in use here. That's okay. I definitely want to do that. I'm going to keep everything the same here. I'm going to post this out, save it over, and that already opens the editor. Now let's take a look at how this posted out. Now, just by selecting two different ops, I have G54 op 1, and this is my face mill toolpath. So let's go ahead and search and find tool 1 again. So I'm going to go into my editor tab, and we're going to go to find. With that highlighted, it pulled it into the find what, and I'm going to hit next. So now you see that it's traveled about a little under halfway down the code, and I have the second operation where it's going to call that tool up. Well, that's not exactly optimal, as it's kind of run the entire op1 program and the op2 program. So within post-processing, we have an option in here to fix that, and that is I'll highlight both operations again, select post-process, and at the very bottom underneath my document units, you'll see this reorder to minimize tool change. What that's going to do is take each one of these, parse the file, and batch together each tool. So now my code is structured to run tool 1 first, then tool 2, both on both operations. We have G54 and G55 work offsets.